Welcome to the Woodridge Audio Project. I'm David, or Dave if you prefer, from audioprojectcentral.com, and I'm hosting the Woodridge Audio Project. This episode of the Woodridge Audio Project is part of the uplifting, informative, and, I'm sure you will agree, inspirational series of character profiles of different people at the school. Please share the episodes with your friends and your family via your social media or in whatever ways you can think of, even if that means emailing a link to someone. You can find out more about Woodridge or contact a member of the team by visiting www.woodridge.co.za. The guest for this episode is Mr. Dave Emslie, who begins by talking about the background to his role as business manager at Woodridge.
I started off as an education journey. I did 8 years as a primary school teacher. And then I was sort of seeking bigger sort of management challenges, and I moved into the motor industry for 5 years. So that gave me a good grounding in management and commercial activities. I then went to become the CEO of Eastern Province Cricket. And when one hears the word cricket, you immediately think of, rightly so, of bats and balls and green grass. Okay, but obviously behind the scene, there's a lot of activity that makes that happen. So within the EP cricket space, I had a bit of finance, I had marketing, I had PR, I had estate management, I had fleet management, development activities, so fundraising, customer liaison. So there is a classic general management position as CEO of Eastern Province Cricket. And I think that's where I picked up sort of the knowledge that I'm using at Woodridge at the moment. I left there in 2013 and then went on to do some consulting. Spent 2 years in Mauritius opening up a golf course. And then ran a training and development company for 3 years, a listed company. And then this opportunity to work at Woodridge came up. And obviously I engaged the Woodridge Trust over a period of time. And it really gives me the opportunity to put together the skills and the knowledge I've learned in quite a cross-section of businesses. And particularly EP cricket, where it's sort of like a bit of a cut and paste. It's an estate, it has finance, it has marketing, it has communications, it has governance. It was nice to come back into the education space and use the general management skills that I've garnered over the years.
It seems appropriate for Woodridge as well, with such a strong focus on sport, that you come from that professional level and bring your skills into a school like Woodridge with such a strong focus on sport. Do you seem like the compatible fit for that?
Sport is part of my DNA, and I'm the kind of person that when I get involved fully. So Woodridge asked me to sort of look at their sports strategy and see if I can improve their sports strategy from a high-level point of view. So while sport is not officially part of my portfolio, it remains correctly so with the headmaster, Mr. Bradley. But I sort of lend a helping hand in terms of the high-level strategy, innovation, new ideas, which I experienced in my time at EP Cricket.
So we know that you spend time with EP Cricket. What would nobody else at Woodridge know about you that you would be happy to share?
They would look at my sporting pedigree and assume that I'm generally competent in most sports, but they wouldn't know that my golf is very, very poor.
I imagine it couldn't be worse than mine. So thinking of your time at Woodridge over the last few years, what stands out for you as a highlight and why?
I think the first word I think of is roller coaster. You know, they had the disastrous fires, and then there was obviously the aftermath of the fires, and a number of things from a management point of view needed to be straightened out. So the capacity and ability to take a few areas that definitely needed attention and try and put them onto the right path. But what really stands out for me is the warmth of the people at Woodridge. The headmaster, the two headmasters, the prep and the college, particularly warm. They welcomed me into their space. They were non-territorial and made me really feel part of the management team from the beginning, and stands Woodridge in good stead. If you've got the three so-called top people working in tandem with each other and not against each other, there's only one winner, and that's Woodridge.
If you have any advice for your colleagues and peers, what would it be and why?
Well, you know, in the motor industry, I learned a very, very good habit, and if you Google it, it's actually a live concept which talks about completed staff work. In other words, if you're given a job of work to do, or a task, when you hand it to your supervisor, it must be in such a condition that your supervisor simply needs to sign off on it. He doesn't have to check for the T's that were crossed and the I's with the dots and the spelling mistakes. So that's what I've always strived for, to try and create and conform to the completed staff work concept and philosophy, and trying to inculcate that into the Woodridge space, and people are very receptive.
That sounds like really good advice for students, pupils as well, who might want to hand in a piece of work prematurely. It seems like you could spend some time crossing the T's and dotting the I's, and you're going to be better off for that, right?
It takes a bit of time, but it's an old military concept, in fact. So it's very interesting Googling it to understand what it means, and it creates some respect around your work. It stops you from having to go back and redo stuff that's not done properly. It's a time saver, in fact. You don't sometimes think at the time when you read the same email 3 times, but it is a time saver, and more important, and as importantly, it enhances your brand as a person. We've all got our own brands, which we ought to try and preserve. And if I'm pushing out completed staff work, well, I think that's good for my brand.
So you're in the field of business and marketing. It's a different language to me. So this question, I really am interested in hearing your answer to. It's about your favorite thing. What is your favorite thing about your role at the school?
My favorite thing is identifying where there are weak spots and fixing them up, or being a catalyst for fixing them up. I love looking at situations and trying to find solutions to the problems through innovation, energy, enthusiasm. It's not all about intellectual capacity. It's about energy and enthusiasm and commitment to the task. So that's why I really, really have enjoyed looking at areas of the business. Okay, I can improve that. There's a stone in the road. I need to move that stone out the road. And get stuck into a project or stuck into a part of the work at Woodridge that needs some serious attention and getting it right. Sometimes you get it right quickly. For example, our board meeting packs and our board meeting agendas maybe weren't the best. I've now put in best practice there, and our information goes out to trust members well in advance of the meeting, and it runs seamlessly. So that's just an example of one of the things that one is able to put right if you give it some attention.
Any tips and tricks that you learned in 2020 and all the challenges that lockdowns and COVID threw at us in business and marketing? I imagine you had to make a plan quickly, had to re-strategize. What can you tell us that we can learn from?
They're almost contradictory terms. I say you've got to have patience. You've got to sit back and say, hey guys, our situation has changed. Let's just take a step back and have patience and evaluate how we're going to change it. At the same time, you need to be very agile. So normally an agile person is not that patient. So trying to combine patience with agility and making sure this business moves quickly with the COVID times with an element of patience. I always quote a Latin term, which is the warmer suburb. It had its own municipality. And it had a logo, or its motto was Festina Lenta, make haste slowly. So that was classic in the COVID time. Festina Lenta, make haste slowly.
Drawing to a close now, do you have any recommendations on books, films, podcasts, documentaries, anything that might be of interest to listeners?
I read a lot of South African history, particularly history from 1900 to present day. Some people call it politics, I call it history. And I think that if you're a South African today, you absolutely need to know how this country has developed, let's say since the turn of the century, the dynamics, the people, the challenges, and that provides you with a deep understanding of the dynamics that we grapple with on a day-to-day basis. So sometimes I read a book and I'm reading a history textbook here. Reading those books and looking at documentaries give you a deep-seated understanding of the hurt of the past, the last 400 years history. So you can become, even at my age, a modern-day South African.
And do you have any final thoughts to conclude the interview?
No, I just think that reinforce what other people have said on podcasts. Most wonderful environment. We provide a quality education. And I have much confidence in Woodridge, to the point where you don't often recommend something you don't have confidence in. But I am more than happy to go out into the community and say, send your child to Woodridge. You're sending them to a quality education, and invite people to come and visit us, come and see the campus and see what we've got to offer.
Such a great team. I've had a great time interviewing people, meeting people, and drawing from the enthusiasm that I'm experiencing across the board. Yeah. So really nice team, and a real pleasure to be talking to you and the rest of them. So thank you. And that brings us to the end of the interview. Thanks for listening, and please do remember to share the episodes and relevant social media posts with your friends and family, and like the episodes at whichever social media platform you found them on. If you have any follow-up questions, head over to www.woodridge.co.za, where you will find the contact details for the school, and you can contact me at www.audioprojectcentral.com.